This might be the most honest Jiu-Jitsu video I've ever made. I love the sport, but I'm very unhappy right now. And if you're like me and you started a little bit later in life, chances are you know exactly where I'm coming from and exactly how I feel. Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Damien with White Belt Goons. If you're new here, this channel is strictly about documenting my journey through Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as someone who has started a little bit later in life after the age of 40. I'm not a pro athlete. I'm not sponsored. I'm not even particularly good at this yet. But what I am is someone who's trying his absolute hardest to understand the sport and get better, regardless of the fact that I'm starting so much later. And today I want to talk to you about something that doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion. Sometimes you can absolutely love something and not be happy doing it. I want to talk about 5 points that I've been thinking about for the past 24 hours that might break down why I'm going through, or even potentially why you're going through, a little bit of this down phase. So point number one is that my body hurts. Like literally all the time, every single day. See, when you're older, recovery isn't theoretical, it's literal. Now, yes, I understand objectively that I'm in control of how many times I train, how much time I spend on the mat, the intensity. I get all of that. But when you start later in life, slowing down means something entirely different. Generally, we're already aware that our time on the mat is limited. Unfortunately, there's no clearly defined path on what it takes to advance or progress. There's no clearly defined way to understand how to get better or how much time it'll take. So every time you rest, every time you stop, every day that you take off, it doesn't feel like you're recovering. It feels like you're stopping. And when you feel like you're stopping, truly you feel like you're losing time. Point number two, and this has got to be one of the most frustrating things for me, is that my body simply will not do what my mind is telling it to do. I'm studying, I'm listening to my coaches, I'm purchasing and watching instructionals, but there's a literal disconnect between the knowledge and the execution of these skills. And oftentimes when it's time for me to actually pull off a technique and a roll, my body just won't respond. I know the steps, I know the concepts, but when it's time to actually put the move into motion, my hips won't move or my reaction is off. Now, the truth is a large part of that can be attributed to age, and another large part of it can be attributed to the fact that I'm very new at this sport. It's simply going to take longer for things to connect. But that right there, that's probably the hardest part to accept, because when you truly believe in your heart and your mind that you understand how to do something, but you can't get your body to respond, that's when it's frustrating. Point number three is that progress in this sport isn't linear. Now, people will say that and tell you that all the time, and conceptually, I understand it, but in practice, it's very difficult to deal with. And emotionally, completely different story. Progress, honestly, it feels more like a helix. It's like you're picking things up one week and then the next week you regress. You understand the concepts one day and the next day you're completely at a loss. You improve, you feel sharp, and then the next week, nothing. And if you're tired, you're frustrated, you're hungry, or just mentally off, it's even worse. There are literally days when I leave the gym and I feel like I haven't learned anything, or worse, I've forgotten what I learned the week before. Even though logically, I know that's not the case. Point number four, and this is really difficult, it's even hard to verbalize, is that being in this sport, it reminds me of my mortality. It's literally just another reminder that I'm getting old. And we talk about this in terms of rolling with younger athletes or being on the floor with younger athletes, but we don't talk about it in terms of what it makes older men feel. Something as simple as just changing clothes in the locker room, looking at someone who's younger, someone who has their entire life ahead of them. It can remind you of where you are on that timeline of life. You're not at that stage anymore, and sometimes that can be a very difficult pill to swallow. It literally forces us to confront something that we all know is coming, but we never want to talk about. And that's the reality that time on this earth, not on the mats, but on this earth, it's limited. Point number five, and the reason why I'm making this video, is that I'm always having this internal fight between the desire to quit in the reason why I started. Now, this isn't something that I deal with every day, but it's always there in the background. Think of the sound that your refrigerator makes, that humming in the background that sometimes you can block out, but it's always there. Now, truth be told, the entire reason that I started Jiu-Jitsu is because I have a lifelong history of quitting things when they become difficult. Everything from college to jobs and my first marriage. So in a lot of ways, I chose Jiu-Jitsu because I knew this was going to be a long, hard journey. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I knew it wasn't going to be quick. I knew it was going to be something that I would have to stick out and force myself to do it, especially in the downtimes. So I find myself here a lot of times in this middle ground of wanting to quit and understanding that I have to stick this out and see it through. And right now, as much as I love the sport, I'm just not happy or excited most of the time. I find myself dealing with anxiety, and I find that the sport of jiu-jitsu tends to put me in more of my depression than pull me out of it. So now that I've explained my issue, we come to the reality. What am I going to do about it? Well, here's my plan for now. I'm a firm believer that the best way to address situations like this is to keep it simple. Cut the noise, stop overthinking, and simply just keep showing up. And sometimes that's not fun. It's not sexy. It's not entertaining. And maybe that's the point. It's not supposed to be. Maybe the point is not to enjoy the process, but simply stick out the process. Maybe what I need to learn from this more than anything is to get comfortable when I'm uncomfortable. I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but I do know this. I'm not giving up. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not quitting. I'm still here, and for now, that's going to have to be enough.